Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're listening. Happy Tuesday. I'm Danielle Heberling, and this is my co-host, Claudia Shams. How are you doing today, Claudia?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me today.
Awesome. Yeah, Pacific Northwest.
That's right. Two folks from Portland. Like we're no longer like our typical broadcast. We also have like a very Texas heavy community. So, when Alan and Andres is on, it's Texas, and Ben, Texas. So, we're the two Pacific Northwest folks in the BIS community.
We're going regional here.
That's right.
And today we're here to talk about you, the community. In this episode of the Believe in Serverless podcast, we're going to cover everything that happened last week. That was September 16th to September 22nd in the year of 2024. So let's jump right in. A reminder, this podcast is to catch you up on what you might have missed. We'll cover the best conversations from Discord, answer any pressing questions that have went unanswered, and we're going to discuss the live sessions and what we found interesting about them. But before we start rolling, let's first thank our sponsor. This week's sponsor is Memento, an enterprise-ready serverless infrastructure platform with caching, event messaging, and storage services. Memento is a pay-as-you-go platform with instantly available cloud resources that elastically scale to meet even the most demanding workloads. Get started today for free by going to console.gomemento.com. Thank you so much to the Memento team for sponsoring this episode of the podcast and just for your ongoing support of the Believe in Serverless community.
Well, I'm excited to welcome the new members. Last week we had 22 and the week before it was 6. This week we had, or I guess last week it was 10 and it was 22 before and 6 before then. So we got 10 new members in the community. It's awesome to see that we're still growing. What are we at? 900 plus now, Danielle?
Yeah, last I saw was 907. Server.
Yeah, and growing. I think our target is to hit 1,000 high quality individuals that, in our community before reInvent. So it's coming close, but I think we're going to get there. What I love about it is, we have people joining us from all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of enterprises, different stages of serverless. And we don't just have serverless zealots here. It's, it's a really nice open-ended community where people can just voice their opinion and ask technical questions to each other. Just calling out because we had 10 or less names. So, we're going to call out some of the folks that have joined. So Yusuf, Jui Hawir, Haun, Big Miner, Boog Rocky, Phil Price, Rick Rickles, GTM number 1, Jaya Ganesh, and an old friend, Pete Naylor. So 10 great new members. Pete's giving a talk soon for BIS as well. So I'm really excited for how the community is growing and how the conversations are shaping up.
Yeah, and if you haven't introduced yourself in the interest channel yet, definitely chime in. We'd love to hear your story and see how we can help you out. All right, so let's jump to community highlights. So here's some conversations that were pretty dominant in the Discord this week. The first one that I saw was a pretty big conversation about AI tools. So things like Cursor, ChatGPT, Perplexity.ai. I think it was mostly in the context of like a AI coding copilot. So yeah, definitely lots of people talking about their opinions. And I was the one that had mentioned Perplexity. I actually changed my underlying search engine in my browser from google.com to Perplexity just to kind of play with it. And some good, some bad. I'm still trust but verify, but I've really enjoyed it personally. Have you been working on any of these, Claudia?
I haven't tried Perplexity, but I'm curious, like what IDE do you use and does it just plug in or?
Oh yeah, with Perplexity in particular, I've been just doing it like in the search in the browser.
Okay.
In my IDE, I've been using GitHub Copilot, and then more recently, I just started using Cursor like 2 days ago.
How do they compare?
Cursor feels like the context awareness is a lot better. Overall, I think I like Cursor better, but for personal projects, I may stick with Copilot because it's much cheaper.
That makes total sense. I use Copilots in not GitHub Copilot, but I use the inverse of Copilot. I spend a ton of time with ChatGPT getting it to solve problems for me. And I feel like in that particular scenario, it's Copilot rather than the other way around. And I can give it guidance. I can give it some feedback on the code that it's developing. It's a really different way to use it as well. And I think you got to do both, but it's an interesting mix. We also discussed a lot about Restate.dev and for durable executions and job recovery. People really like the idea of defining workflows in code rather than proprietary, DSLs and so forth. A lot of this started in the early days of Amazon SWF. The first version that actually simple workflow that never actually made it out to production allowed for people to just provide Java annotations where they would intercept the code base. They would intercept a method call and actually enqueue a item in the workflow rather than running it locally. And then when the method call comes back, it would automatically, give you the context back and then, let the callback happen. There's also other folks. So the people who worked on SWF, Max Fatih was one of them. He went off and founded Temporal after doing something very similar at Uber as well. So Temporal also does a lot of, durable execution. I'm curious if you had any thoughts on Temporal or Restate, Danielle?
Yeah, honestly, I haven't used either. I'm interested in dabbling though, for just to kind of echo what some people in the community have said, that like I really like step functions, but I don't like that the ASL Amazon States language is like super proprietary. So that's why it's definitely on my list to dabble with.
Well, proprietary languages make life easier when you're building these tools because then you can put a nice UI on it and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, true. Cool. And another community highlight conversation is forget who the person was. Forgive me. Was a new member of our Discord asked for a testing channel. So you can now head into that new testing channel to discuss serverless testing. Huge conversation for sure. I don't know why we didn't have that before, but thank you so much. And don't hesitate to request things. We're happy to listen.
If you care a lot about serverless testing, Jan Sui has some great material on and some courses on how to think about testing in the serverless world as well. It's so much more crucial, right? Like, it's more non-determinism because there's all these microservices talking to each other.
Yeah, definitely. Big topic. I think everyone does it differently, and excited to see people's takes on it and their best practices.
Yeah, let's move on to the unanswered questions then. I'm curious if, I think people asked about Swift code, if people have been using it. I think Alan, is that you or Alan that said that they've used it in the past, but curious about how they would use it for GA and the AWS SDK for Swift as well.
Yeah, I think it might have been Daryl that had asked that question, potentially. Right. Correct me if I'm wrong, Daryl. But I've dabbled with Swift. Never really actually built more than a hello world with it. So my answer is I likely won't be using it.
I like Flutter and I like React Native as well, like the cross-platform ones. But it seems like we haven't had anybody answer that question though in terms of their experience with Swift code and how it's becoming, how it compares with the Amplify. So if you're watching this and you have opinions, please chime in.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. So let's move on to live stream key points. This first clip is Serverless Jeopardy that I was lucky enough to get to participate in. It's a lot of fun. So let me play that clip here.
Let's do badly described shapes for 500, Sam.
Okay, all right. A shape of software architecture that aims to create loosely coupled application components that can be connected by a means of ports and adapters. Dan, you've buzzed in.
What is hexagonal?
What is hexagonal? Look at the hexagon. Yeah, that's fine. That's correct.
Awesome. Yeah, that was a super, super fun event. Some of the folks from Serverless Guru planned that entire game. I could only imagine how much time and effort they put into it. So very much appreciated. Us participants had a great time. There's a lot of chatter in Discord as well about the event too.
That's right. I think different shapes of software is always interesting. I was telling before we were preparing for the session today, Danielle, I wish somebody put in like a software pattern that was inspired by noodles and, spaghetti architecture of like overly coupled, tight, nasty integrations between software. Like spaghetti code was one of the first things that I learned not to do in the software patterns class. But, moving forward, there was also Alan and Andres, the Texas regional team. They talked about how to build a judgy RSS feed. So let's cue that up.
This runs every time a message is sent inside of Discord. We're going to parse that message. We're going to look for links. If the message doesn't have any links, we're just going to do nothing. If it does have links, then we are going to load the OG data. Loading that OG data is going to get us several things. It gives us the title of the page, the description of the page, the content type. Also, it'll tell you it's a video or an article or a blog. The next step that we're going to do is we're going to pass that over to Bedrock. And what we're going to be using that for is determining, is that link relevant to the community? So if I go in and just paste the link to my Twitter profile, it's going to say, no, that's not relevant. We'll ask Claude, is this relevant? It'll come back with a relevance score, and that relevant score will cut off at a certain threshold. If we determine it not relevant, we're done processing that link. No more. Nice. And finally, we'll update the RSS feed. The easy part. Arguably the most important, but updating that RSS feed, it's literally an XML file.
Such a great project idea. Those two are so creative.
I agree. And I just love the background music. It just made it even more exciting and judgy. Because it was like if Alan or Andreas weren't talking fast enough, I would start judging them because of really high-paced music as well. But it made the whole experience more enjoyable as well. So
yeah, very exciting. Anyway.
Well, in closing, I think we have a few announcements, right, Danielle, for some cool sessions and things like that.
Yeah, we've got a lot of sessions this week. So it's a busy week, but a good problem to have. So our first session this week is actually on Monday. We are recording this on Monday, so it hasn't happened yet. But by the time you listen to this, it's likely past. History of AWS Lambda with Jeremy Edberg. Would definitely recommend you listen to that on demand if you didn't attend live.
Yeah, Jeremy was, he claims to be the first outside of Amazon user of Lambda. And he's by the time, we haven't literally going to stream it in an hour, but if you don't catch it, go for it in the VOD session. Power your predictive analytics with InfluxDB with Anais Dotis. That's happening Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, I've never used InfluxDB, so kind of interested to peep at that one.
Same. I've heard a lot about it, but I haven't just gotten a chance to use it. So this would be my first experience learning about it.
Yeah, and then Tuesday, we're saying Pacific time zone. So Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time zone, we're going to have a talk from Wendy Wong. She's going to be talking about analyzing marketing campaigns using Amazon Q and QuickSight. So that's two services I've used Q, but I've never used Amazon Q and QuickSight. So very interested to see that one. And she is also based in Australia. So technically this is an APAC talk.
Yeah, is that like 9 a.m. Australia time, I would imagine?
Hey, I think it was 9 or 10. Yeah, coordinating with her, I had to make sure I had the day and the time right. So very appreciative of her patience with me.
Yeah. So it would be 6 hours from now. So it's like 10 a.m. Australia time, or at least in Sydney. So, and then at Thursday at 6 a.m. Pacific, super early, we're going to be talking about API destinations with Alan Helton and Michael Gosh. Is that how you say Michael's last name? Michael, I'm sorry if I butchered it.
I'm not sure. Yeah. I believe he's a PM for EventBridge, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be good to hear from the source. And then Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, we have Unlocking the Hidden Power of Serverless for Your Gen AI Apps with Brian Hogg. That's going to be an exciting one. He's got a very enthusiastic type of stream persona. So I know he's going to be fantastic.
That's right. And then we have on Thursday at 1 p.m., Do More with Stateless Elasticsearch. That's being presented by Philip Kren.
And then finally, we've got our Friday live stream. This is going to be at 11 a.m. Pacific with Alan. And he's going to show us how to get live reactions on any web page. So that's going to be really fun.
It is. And then we have a call to action for everybody. You know, this is a great community. And what makes it great is how inclusive we are and how open we are to people asking any sorts of questions. So do keep an eye on Discord. You might just have a question to ask or some answers to provide to your community. Encourage your friends to join as well, because that's what's going to make this even more useful and increase the likelihood of good questions getting answered. So participate in the discussion. You know, we'll judge RSS feeds, but we're not going to judge your comments or your questions. And it's okay to just chime in. It's a very nice, inclusive community. And submit questions for future episodes as well. If we don't know the answer, we'll go find them for you as well.
Yeah, totally. I think we're all better together. We all have those silly questions, but yeah, this Discord chat has been really fantastic in terms of being inclusive, being kind to each other. And sometimes if you're a new person asking what you think is a basic question, sometimes I think that's super helpful, because people who are super experienced in serverless kind of get in their own bubbles, and it's nice to be pulled back a little bit and see how someone else might be perceiving something. Awesome. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and you can find us anywhere you can listen to podcasts. If you want to go to believeinserverless.com, there should be an invite to our Discord. And as always, you can definitely message either of us privately. We can get you an invite too, because we want this community to continue to grow and continue to be as great as it has been.
Thanks, everybody.